Dorugoramon is back, and watch these games to learn how to play the deck as it forces your opponents to block with their Digimon with the all-new keyword, collision.
Alright, game 1 of Dorugoramon, we're playing against Tyrant Kabuterimon here. Now looking at our opening hand, we're like, lots of level 6s. I actually probably should have tried for a mulligan, but I was like, you know what, I can go for a first turn play and not use the alternative Digivolution requirement of Dorumon and just Digivolve for 1 at the back and then see where we go from there. Kind of risky though, just because we're just drawing 1 card off and then we're just not going to be able to find the rest of our pieces, then we're pretty much doomed. We're going to play Dorumon here to search, and we decided to grab Megadramon, but that's actually not a valid target, and I apologize in advance guys, because I guess this is the first time I was playing this deck and I just thought I could grab anything because I actually can't. I can only have grabbed the Dorugray or the Dorugora because only those are X antibody targets. So keep in mind guys, the Megadramon I can't grab. It's only SOC, it doesn't have X antibody in its traits, of course. So apologies for that mistake. But anyways, we're gonna continue to chip away here first and try to take down the security bit by bit. But they managed to find Izzy now, which is kind of not the greatest for us. That means they get a lot of free momentum and value. So I decided to go Digivolve into Dorugoramon here, thinking of trashing and drawing a card, but I felt like all the cards I need at the moment are pretty important, so I decided to keep. So then I'm going to Digivolve into the Megadramon, try to cycle and try to tuck stuff underneath and trash things under stuff into the trash, set up the trash as well. Ideally what we want to see in our trash are like 5 cost or less cards, because that gives us the ability to play them back with Dorugoramon, but we get to draw cards with Dorugoramon as well just by tucking something underneath, which is going to be really good. But they go into climb up with this side here with Hercules Kabuterimon. They just need a setup, and once they sort of like build their stack and go into Tyrant, they can just like Digivolve up the line, suspend us down, swing over our bodies, bottom deck our stuff, and gain a ton of value in one single turn to change the whole tide of the game, which is pretty insane. So they go for basically double agility from into Metal Life into Hercules. Could potentially gains that piercing and also swing over something first, but they're gonna go for Tyrant here, essentially for 2 costs. Tyrant is almost like a pseudo level 7 of the deck, and then with going into Tyrant, they can actually go into this Grand Kuwagamon Ace by playing it effectively for free. They're going to use the end of turn to bottom deck first, and then they're going to use the second part of the end of turn of Modimon to swing over our Doru, and then it's going to pierce for 1 check, and they're going to gain memory going back to 0, and they can just play this Kabuterimon to search, and they have such a crazy board already set up there for them. And that crazy board is going to be pretty difficult to out. They have redirection, they have immunity to Digimon effects while being suspended as well, which is pretty crazy. So all we can really do is just set up and try to cycle and find as many pieces. I went into defense training, into Dorugray here, and now we have a line that we can go into the next turn, which is going to help us stay, possibly make a comeback and stay in the game and turn things around possibly. And yeah, but there's some really cool combos that we'll get to see afterwards anyways, and you guys get to sit tight because Dorugoramon is such a fun deck, having a lot of fun with the SOC pure build instead of the X antibody build here so far. But if you guys want to see the X antibody build, you guys can actually see it on the AVAULT Club already, so definitely join, see that deck list, and I might cover more X antibody related stuff, especially when BT16 comes out as well. So they're here trying to contemplate how they want to finish off their turn. After chipping away with their Grand Kuwaga, they get to give their Tyrant like sec +1, so they can go for 2 checks right here. We'll find ourselves a Marvin Jackson and a Kosuke, which is huge for us because now this guarantees us a potential comeback. You know, having those 2 are just super crucial for this deck. We need to find and see our Tamers as soon as possible. They decided to chip the last one with Kabuterimon anyways, and they just have to find a way to pass us back to 3. They decide to Digivolve in the back, and they just go for another Izzy, and they have like basically like triple redirects here, which is pretty good. But we can play around it. We can definitely play around it just because Tyrant is just sitting at 14k at the moment here, I believe, and we're gonna be we can actually swing over and we have a chance. I'm thinking if I want to Mind Link here preemptively, but the Dorumon underneath it is the gaining memory one instead, and I'm just trying to see like, okay, if I Mind Link preemptively, then maybe I can stack multiple tamers underneath it for better value. I decided to go into Airdramon here just because I don't have anything else to go into at this moment, and I'm not able to put a Marvin Jackson from my hand anyways to digivolve, otherwise I've been really good. So I went into Dorugray and used all my defense trainings and basically tucked Kosuke underneath, and this is where antibody pro reform really comes in clutch. One of my personal favorite cards of all time. If you guys have been watching my videos, you guys will always know I love this card. I will always try to add it in if I can, because here it lets us digivolve into Dorugoramon for one less cost, and that keeps our turn, which is really important because now we can go into dexdorugora and it's gonna pop everything that's the lowest level on their side of the board, and that's gonna be Grand Kuwaga. And by popping the Grand Kuwaga, the Tyrant isn't affected because it's suspended, but that's totally fine because now that gives us the overflow back with the memory, and then we can final Zubagon Punch, beefing up our Dex Dorugora all the way up to 16 with it, and we're gonna gain all that effects. And with alongside the Dorumon Inheritable, we're 17 and we can just swing over it easy. Like, yeah, just super easy. And then we get to play stuff back. We get to play that Dorugoramon back and Pierce for the 2 checks with massive damage here. And all we have to do is just find a way to pass them back. And then we can just Mind Link with Marvin Jackson, just because I want to give that Dorugoramon a blocker, just in case they can suspend down one of our blockers because of Metal Life. And then we can reboot and both blockers on the board, standing tall, protecting us. And we decide to Mind Link. We're just thinking, oh yeah, we could Mind Link out, but we don't really need to either, just because we have final Zubagon Punch anyways. But I decided to keep it underneath just because it doesn't make too much of a difference. So they do end up going to Tyrant. They go into another Grand Kuwaga here, which is actually a good thing that we didn't Mind Link back out, because if we did, then they get to delete our Kosuke. And here basically just bomb decking our Dorugoramon, because Dex Dorugora is still much higher DP than Grand Kuwaga is. Anyways, here we're gonna go for Uko at the back, just go for 1, and then we're trying to see, okay, how can we sort of play around this? We have a bit of memory to work with. Completely forgot to Mind Link back out with Kosuke. Apologies for that, but you know, our opponent allowed anyways. This is like just, you know, practice matches and practice games. So we're gonna come out with Kosuke with Mind Link, which we should have done at the end of their turn instead. I'm debating, okay, I can go for a Dorudin, delete their Grand Kuwaga, Ace Overflow for back. I'm gonna go final Zubagon Punch. The reason is because I need to have that blocker. Go into Sephirothmon, which forces their Tyrant to attack into us. There's a lot of taunting in this deck, and I love Sephirothmon being utilized in this as well, because forcing their Tyrant Kabuteri to attack at the start of main, we have a massive Dex Dorugora that can block immediately, getting rid of it and help us stay in the game essentially. And this is one of the really cool fun combos of this deck, and I just love it to showcase you guys because I was having a ton of fun playing it. Honestly, we get to take down that Tyrant, and then we get to play something back out again, which we're going to play out the Doruga. And playing out the Doruga, potentially I was thinking either we can play the Airdra or Doruga, but I felt like, okay, you know what, let's just go for Doruga, because that's usually like the line of play, so they can digivolve from Dorugray and whatnot if I need to afterwards. And all they can do now is just search, find a piece they need, digivolve in the back, and not a whole lot they can really do, honestly, because we have basically lethal the next turn. Slapping down the Kuwaga to stun down our Dex Dorugora is actually a really good play here. And we're just going to push out with Ukomon. We technically have 3 swings, but our Dorugoramon has collision, so it actually forces their Kuwagamon to attack. And we're also trying to think about how we can play around the potential Mega Kabuteri Ace as well. So I'm trying to think hard, like, can we go for another turn? But I felt like we really couldn't, just because the next turn is going to be pretty doomed for us. So I went to Dorugray, hoping we can draw into a Dorugora. And by drawing into like a Dorugora, we can actually force them to collide, and then we can actually swing and pierce and do damage. But not finding it is just kind of unfortunate. So we're just going to go and chip away at security here. And maybe they had Mega Kabuteri at this point, I'm not sure. Maybe they're just waiting for it before the redirect happens. We're just going to chip once more here. And we're just going to try to attempt to swing for game with Dorugray, but here there's a bit of a misplay that's about to happen. We both completely forgot that Dorugoramon has collision, which essentially is going to force the Kuwagamon to block anyways, which should have happened. But at this moment, I guess we're just We just completely forgot about it, and I just decided to swing with Dorugoramon, and apparently I got game. So honestly, this game we actually technically just lost anyways, because we couldn't have stopped them from the next turn from swinging us into game anyways there, really. Okay, game 2, we are playing against the Virus Imperial, red and purple. This is gonna be really cool. Looking at our opening hand, nah, not keepable. We don't have enough cards that we can play, so we definitely go for mulligan. In this deck, ideally what we're trying to look for actually is Ukomon, rookies, searching cards. Those are the most important cards that we want to look for, and Ukomon is actually incredibly important just because it gives you so much momentum in terms of search and finding your pieces, and this is perfect here. This is looking really good for us, and they're starting first, so they're gonna go for Vmon on play, trash 1, draw 2, and we're gonna go for Black Memory Boost first. Always remember to use Black Memory Boost first if you have the enough memory to go for it, because the other thing is that if you Digivolve Uko first, you won't be able to use the black option because Ukomon is a white Digimon. That's why it's always important to, do the reverse and never just Digivolve into Ukomon right away without thinking twice, because it can, stop you from having the color requirement to use your black option cards, especially we play quite a ton of them to search. But we're pretty much set up. We pass them back to 1, and this is perfect for us. And then all we have to really do is just basically push out the Uko and basically continue to find our pieces. At the same time, it's pretty much happening the same on their end. They're just trying to, find pieces as well and search at the same time, establish a board, and we're just gonna come out so then we can continue to find, we can hatch as well. That's what we want to go for. And grabbing Dorumon is perfect for us, because now that we just need to find our tamers, so then we can Digivolve into Dora at the back, and then we're perfectly finding another Black Memory Boost. We can play it again, grab another card, and we grab a Dorugora, and you guys can see that we have a straight line up that we can climb very nicely here, which is going to be perfect for us. And all we're missing are basically the tamers. We just need either Kosuke or Marvin. That's really all we just need to find. They'll continue to, give us as little memory as possible as well, going into Shadramon, playing out the Vmon, trashing cards, drawing 2. They're setting up their trash for their big combos afterwards too. But Ukomon, really great, always making sure that we can utilize a really great rookie combo right here, because once we push out, Uko will activate first to search, and then we can grab the Kosuke off of it because we've got a tamer. Then we can use the starter turn of starter main of Doru to tuck it underneath to gain the maximum amount of value. And I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Let me know in the comments, but judging from sequencing, that's my understanding of it. But if it's not, let me know as well. Anyways, here I went into Dorugoramon here to taunt them. I went into Uko at the back as well, and then perfectly passing them back to 1 with Dorugray, which forces them to attack into us at the start of their main phase with Shadramon. We taunted the Shadramon, so then we would just block and go ahead, and we can go into Dorugora for free effectively here, which is really good for us. Now, the thing is, we can actually have gained even more momentum and value the turn prior. Instead of Digivolving into Uko at the back and then just trying to go into Dorugray, we can actually do a proactive play to go into Dorugray, go at 0, swing into their Digimon, force them to use collision, and then we could have actually went into Dorugora ourselves. And by going into Dorugora during our turn, we could have pierced, we could have unsuspend, we could have deleted another Digimon as well, all at the same time. And then we would have actually done some extra damage while at it. And the whole thing is, I was just kind of playtesting a lot, just trying to get a feel for it and understand how the taunting mechanics, how it kind of like synergizes, and when to use the taunt of Doruga and when to use collision. Knowing the right times when to use these effects really pays off. So here we're just learning, and that's just sort of what I realized on how I can play it a bit more optimally here and there. Pushing out Uko, always keeping Uko on the board is just always fantastic, because now that we have double, we get to do double search, which is lots of value for us. Start our main with Doru, we can tuck another Kosuke underneath, and we can actually now start doing a bit of damage here and start attacking into their security. That's kind of what I was thinking, might as well, and just try to see, and we can chip away and start, setting up for lethal and go on the offensive side of things. They can go for explosive turns as well, so we just got to be a little bit wary, and we just want to set up a board that we can kind of deal with, or kind of like be able to recover from that a little bit. But swinging into analog is pretty big for them, huge in that way, just because then that means they can, search and set up more pieces in their trash. So I'm just going to continue to chip here, putting down to 2 security, and I'm just going to find a way just to pass them back at 1 by going into Megadramon. Megadramon is going to help me find more stuff. I can put Marvin Jackson underneath it, which is going to be helpful. I can, you know, also grab the Doruga as well. And then here at the end of the turn, I can also still choose to Mind Link back out, which both Kosuke and Marvin give blocker, I believe. And since we don't need the redundancy, and just keeping the Kosuke out, which is going to split the Kosuke, so then we can have Ensure Memory Tamer. But we'll also still have the other Kosuke underneath Dorugora as well there too. But at least our Megadramon has blocker, and it looks like they're going to go for a big combo this turn. And I think they're just trying to debate on how they want to sequence this combo. So we're just trying to read and sort of understand here. And from what I remembered is that what they actually could do, instead of going into Flame Dramon first, is they can go into Shadramon. By going into Shadramon, they can play something back out. And then if they have a Flame Dramon from their hand, they can just Digivolve the Flame Dramon and then utilize it to DNA. So I think we're just sort of like conversing here, sort of like debating on what the more optimal play overall is, depending on what they have here. So here was the moment I was pointing out, okay, yeah, if you can actually go for the full combo. If you go into Shadramon plays something, which they're going to do, into this V, trash a card to draw 2, and then they're going to probably find a piece, and all they have to do is just go into a Flame Dramon or another Shadramon, the purple one, and they can just immediately go ahead and DNA with those, and then they basically get the full combo off, essentially. And it's really cool because Virus Imperial has quite a bit of new support, not quite a bit, but some form of new support with the new Wormmon, as you guys can see. The Davis and Ken helps out the deck a little bit just because you can play any of the V-Mons and the Wormmons for free, although you're not gaining the best value out of it, just because when you Digivolve, you can only gain that memory back if it's a blue or green Digimon, but you can still actually potentially trash sources when you DNA, so it's kind of cool. And there's also a new Dino B, which is really helpful for the deck. But now at this moment, when they get into this Dragon mode here, we have to choose one Digimon to keep on the board and delete the rest of it. Normally, I would actually have chose the Dorugoramon and keep it, but here we actually have some kind of crazy counterplay which we're about to do. And they just don't see it coming either. Because what's going to happen here is they go into their fighter mode, go for the full combo, and bottom deck their dragon mode as well. And then they're going to be able to swing over our Megadramon unsuspended. And this is where we are going to go into Vikemon Ace. And with Vikemon Ace, we're actually sitting at 14k DP. And with all the DP buffs that they have, the Dino B is not high enough to reach over it, which only should still be at 12. And we basically deleted via that battle from Blast Digivolving, which is really cool. They could have preemptively trashed their sources with Davis and Ken, but honestly, not everyone can see this coming. Vikemon Ace is sort of like my special spice up the sleeve to sort of like counter them as well. And it's just really cool. So here we can go for an aggressive play. We're just going to go for Final Zubagon here. We can swing 2 checks, delete the Vmon, and finish it off with Doru there. Game 3, we're gonna be up against Magna X. We're gonna amp the challenge this time to see if we can face off one of the best decks out there. Normally, Dorugoramon actually stands a pretty decent chance against it. If not, it can sometimes counter it pretty hard, just because with all the collision that's happening, as well as mainly as having the Dorugoramon to force them to attack us preemptively, there's actually ways to play around it before they get into Magna X. So we're gonna try and see if we can do that and try to basically control the board before they're able to get into it. And if they're not able to get into it, then we can actually establish a lot of board presence and control over them instead. We're always going to go for the classic Uko in the back, Uko in the front, push out, continue to search, and gain a ton of value just to find cards after cards and continue to hatch our egg and continue to do so as we can. We decided to go for the Marvin Jackson just to play it out anyways, because I felt like, oh yeah, I could have went into the Airdramon and then, you know, de-digivolve them. That probably been the better play. Maybe I should have just actually hard played the Kosuke and gave them extra memory to work with anyways, and then see from there. But they were kind of hard decisions because there weren't many cards in our hand that we can actually really utilize right off the bat there, or even like sort of play around. So I just felt like that would have been the best choice during the time. But hindsight, probably the other line of play was to actually just hard play the Kosuke, because then we can at least go into Airdramon, hard play it even, and then de-digivolve their Magna from there, so then they can't get into Magna X as quickly. But you guys can see they can just keep digivolving and they can get there pretty quick because now they have a Magna there, 2 Magnas on the board. They can swing, chip away at our security, they're drawing cards, and they can actually get into Magna X pretty quickly if they have it at this point. And it's going to be difficult for us to deal with once it hits the board too. So we're a little bit late because if we had that Dorumon, we've been able to push out and then we can get into a Dorugoramon and we can kind of like control the board earlier. But now that they're able to get into Magna X quicker with Awakening as well, they can just start attacking us multiple times, chipping a lot of our security away essentially, and have like immunity and everything, which is going to be kind of difficult for us to sort of deal with at this point. And we're gonna have to play around the immunity as well, and then go into this other Magna just to bounce our Uko, and they're just basically taking down 3 of our security, and we're forced to do something exactly at this moment. I'm deciding here on what card to trash for Marvin Jackson just to gain an extra memory. So I decided to toss away this Dorumon anyways because I felt like I didn't need it at the moment. All the other cards I kind of need. And then at the start of main, we can tuck away the Kosuke to give it the protection other than by deletion for the turn. We can go into Airdramon, tuck away another Marvin Jackson from our hand, de-digivolve that Magna, and then we'll have to go into our Mega Dramon here just by digivolving, tucking the Dorugray underneath, which has SOC, and then we'll grab the Marvin Jackson here once again, which is pretty good for us overall. And then we're gonna have to find a way to basically get into Dorugoramon. We're not able to get into it and keep turn this time, but we can at least just put the opponent at 1, digivolve into it, delete the Davis, and then we can unmind link out with another Kosuke since we have 2 of them underneath it here at this point. And yeah, so we're just gonna sit here and see how they can react to us, and they're gonna have to deal with our board. So they preemptively use Blinding Ray just to buff up their Magna and getting the protection all over again, but they don't get to unsuspend this time, but that's totally fine for them. They're sitting in a really good position, so they don't necessarily need to check us that quickly anyways. They go into this other second Magna here, trashing top of our 2 sources, which is pretty tricky now because then we can't utilize the Mega Dramon to de-digivolve, and it just passes back to 3 just by power playing the Vmon. And here we still have Dorugoramon to work with, but yeah, you guys can see like situations looks kind of tight. Here again, I'm using Marvin Jackson to toss away to gain memory. I toss away another Marvin Jackson from my hand to gain additional memory, which is actually going to bite me back later on. And I should have thought about it a little bit thoroughly, but you guys will see. Also for Kosuke, we forgot to mind link out, and then we decided to say, okay, I was just saying we mind linked and then we unmind link back. And so then we can draw an extra card off Dorugoramon. So always remember, make sure to mind link during the end phase only. Again, we're just playing friendly matches. We were learning more about this deck together. So, we're just being lenient on each other. So I'm have to go for a final Zubagon Punch, knowing that's just a Magna. It's just so big and I really want to swing over it. The issue is when it comes to collision, that's a little bit of the downside because they're kind of forced to block, and all they have to kind of do is just block with their Magna when we try to swing over the Magna X. And then, well, surprisingly, they actually blocked with the Vmon instead, but if they blocked with the Magna, they would have actually just stopped the attack and we wouldn't be able to unsuspend as Dorugoramon anyways. But we decided to swing as security here just to deal damage, just because we actually aren't strong enough. We're actually at 16k and their Magna X is also at 16k. So with their armor purge, we just couldn't swing over it just because of Zudo there just really hit us hard with the taking away the Doruga, which gives us that extra 1000 DP that we could have utilized and needed. And by swinging at their security, they get to unsuspend with the Magna X standing tall now, gaining another additional 3000 DP, which basically sits at 19k, I believe. And we're no longer able to swing, and at this point we have to actually just set up blocker, play something back with Dorugoramon here as well, and then from the Inheritable, which we kind of forgot until to do so later on. But this is where it bit me back, where if I didn't toss away that Marvin Jackson that I had earlier in the hand, I could actually play Airdramon out, and by playing Airdramon out, I can tuck that Marvin Jackson underneath, and then I get to de-digivolve their Magna, so then there will be 1 less level 4 on the board and 2 level 3s and a Magna X instead. And we the board might be a little bit more manageable in terms of control there, because then now They can go into Zudo Ace, stripping away the source underneath our Dorga, bouncing it back to our hand so we no longer have double blockers to keep us in the game. All they have to do is swing with Magna X here, which is still at 13k DP, but our Dorugora is only at 12 since the extra DP source was stripped away, and we can only use Proto Form to save a source, block the attack, hoping to prevent it from unsuspending, but it doesn't matter anyways because the swing with V, unsuspend with Magna X and finish the game air anyways there. Check out this video for more BT16 gameplay guides. Also, special thanks to Premium and Deluxe members for supporting the channel. Thank you so much, and as always, you guys have a great day, great night, wherever you are. Stay tuned for the next video, and this is AVAULT signing out.